Hey, welcome. So today we are going way, way back to look at our own planet's history. And let me tell you, it is seriously alien. You might think you have a picture of prehistoric Earth in your head, but the reality, it's so much stranger than you could possibly imagine. So when you think about prehistoric Earth, what do you picture? Maybe some woolly mammoths, saber-toothed cats, a lot of ice, right? But what happens if we rewind the clock way, way further back? Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. What about before the dinosaurs? What comes to mind? Maybe some weird fish, some giant dragonflies? Well, the truth is, for most of its history, Earth was a place we would find completely, utterly unrecognizable. Yeah, seriously, forget everything you've seen in the movies. The real ancient Earth was less Jurassic Park and a whole lot more like some kind of wild sci-fi epic on a distant and, frankly, hostile planet. So let's take a trip. For the first 4 billion years of its life, that's most of its existence, the color of Earth's continents wasn't green at all. Nope, it was just the color of rock and dust and sand. So on the left, that's the Earth we all know and love. But for most of its history, it looked a lot more like the planet on the right. The sky wasn't blue, the land was just bare rock. And get this, without plant roots to hold anything together, rivers weren't these gentle, winding things. They were just wide, chaotic, braided channels of water scouring the landscape. And the conditions? They were just brutal. There was no soil, just a layer of loose rock and dust called regolith. Exactly what we see on Mars today. All the iron dissolved in the water probably turned the oceans this murky green color. And the sky? Likely a hazy orange thanks to an atmosphere choked with methane. Oh, and to top it all off, there was no ozone layer, so the surface was just getting blasted by deadly UV radiation from the sun. So how did this alien world ever begin to change? Well, it wasn't with trees or plants. It was something much, much simpler. The first great terraforming of our planet was started by trillions and trillions of microscopic organisms. It was a revolution of slime. Everybody, meet cyanobacteria. For billions of years, these tiny little microbes were the undisputed rulers of Earth. They formed these huge, slimy mats in shallow water all along the coastlines, just covering everything. They were absolute masters of photosynthesis, and they just loved that carbon dioxide-rich atmosphere. But here is the most incredible part of their story. It was all about their waste product. Just one little gas: oxygen. For literally billions of years, these tiny organisms just pumped this stuff out into the oceans and into the atmosphere, and in doing so, they changed absolutely everything. And here's the mind-blowing twist. This brand new gas, oxygen, was poisonous. It was toxic to almost all other life on Earth at the time. So this slow, steady buildup of oxygen caused the planet's very first, and maybe its biggest, mass extinction event. We call it the Great Oxidation Event. That's right. The very air that gives us life was once a deadly poison that wiped out an entire world. Okay, so after the slime came and went, Earth entered another, just bizarre phase. Long before the first tree ever grew, the land was dominated by something else, something straight out of a fantasy novel. Just look at that number, 26 feet. That is almost as tall as a 3-story building. What in the world could have been that tall before trees even existed? The answer? Prototaxites. These things weren't plants. They were giant fungi. For millions and millions of years, the tallest things on land were these bizarre 26-foot-tall mushrooms. Can you just imagine that silent, alien landscape just dotted with these weird pillars? So, when did the world we actually know finally show up? Well, the green planet we're familiar with, the one with trees and grass and flowers, is a shockingly recent development in Earth's long, strange story. The first real trees, things like Archaeopteryx, they popped up about 385 million years ago, but even they would have seemed pretty strange to us. They had leaves that looked more like fern fronds, and they didn't have seeds or flowers. They reproduced using spores, just like the fungi that came before them. Now, this means that the picture we all have of dinosaurs is probably wrong. We see them in these lush jungles with big tropical flowers or running across grassy plains. But for their entire 150 million year reign, dinosaurs lived in a world that did not have a single flower or a single blade of grass. Their world was all ferns, cycads, and conifers. This timeline really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? Trees are ancient, yeah, but flowers? They didn't show up until about 120 million years ago, pretty late in the dinosaur game. And grass? Grass is basically a brand new invention. The great grassy plains we see today didn't even start to spread until 30 million years after the dinosaurs were already gone. So, the world that we think of as natural, a world of meadows and gardens and forests full of leafy trees, it's just the latest chapter in a very, very long book. Earth has spent most of its life as a barren rock, a slime world, and a kingdom of giant fungi. Our green world, it's the exception, not the rule. Think about it. From slime to fungi to flowers, life has just radically reshaped our planet's surface over and over and over again. The evolution of flowers and grass completely remade the world in what was geologically just the blink of an eye. It kind of makes you wonder, right? What's the next great transformation going to be? What will the face of our planet look like millions of years from now?